Thank you so much for being here with me today. I can't tell you how much it means to me to see your faces, to feel your support. And you have no idea what you're doing here. You don't know what this is about entirely. So thanks for your faith also in me and what I'm going to share with you. So, where I want to start today is with something that I am calling a shame scroll. So if you can imagine a scroll, like one of those old scrolls, and then you take it and you open it up this way, this is what I'm calling my shame scroll. And on my shame scroll, what I have for you first is where I'd like to start is my name is Mary, and I am an alcoholic. I had my son when I was 15 years old and spent some time, quite some time, on welfare. I, used to smoke cigarettes, and if I could, I still would, if it wasn't something that would kill me and if it didn't smell bad. Otherwise, I would, because I really, really love smoking. I have had periods in my life where my credit score was lower than a rattlesnake's belly button. I have had subscriptions to the IRS that I could not cancel despite my efforts. You know, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I'm sure there's more things. And if there's some other meeting that we're going to do some other day and you want to share yours with me, it'll be fun. We'll all share our shame scrolls with each other. Oh, I didn't graduate from high school. I ended up getting my GED ultimately, but didn't graduate from high school. So why am I sharing all of these things with you? I feel like I have spent the last 30 years or so processing through a lot of that stuff. And frankly, I'm kind of tired of talking about it. I'm so grateful for the experiences. And as someone who is in recovery, one of the things that we say is that we do not regret the past, nor do we wish to shut the door on it. So I don't regret any of that, nor do I wish to pretend like none of it exists. But the reason I share it with you is that two things. One, my life could not be any more different than all of those things. So my life is incredibly different, as many of you know today. It could not be more opposite. Like you couldn't even recognize that life to this life. But the second reason is that I want to help as many people as I can see what it's like to go from that into this and actually give more and more people a path to get there. So I'm going to leave that over there. And where I want to start today is where I am now. And where I am now is as a business coach, which I have been for the past 6.5 years. How I got that way as a business coach was before that, I spent 22 years helping build and run our own family business before we sold that company. And that was an incredible journey in and of itself. Ultimately, we sold that organization to a really incredible strategic partner, and my twin brother has just taken it to the next level, and it's very exciting. I love everything about business. I've also started a couple of other businesses too in the meantime. I love everything about business, and I love everything about coaching leaders and leadership teams. That's what I've been doing for the last 6.5 years. The reason I brought you here today is because I feel called to help even more people. And I need your help with that. And I will describe a little bit more what that looks like a little bit later. But I want to share with you first my very big, hairy, audacious goal. And I set mine with my coach, Mike Coates, who's actually here today. I see you, Mike. Thank you for being here. And I learned this from Mike. So Mike was coached by what we all call the ultimate coach. In fact, there's a book about him. His name is Steve Hardison, and he's called The Ultimate Coach. And Mike's work has been transformational. And I asked Mike if he would coach me as well. And when we came up with this, he said, what is it that you would really want to be doing with your life? And I said, Mike, I want to be the best motivational speaker in the world. And he's like, awesome. How do we get there? And I'm like, Mike, that's not a thing. Like, I know I just said that out loud, but like, that's not, I'm telling you that, but that feels terrifying. And what I want to share with you about this goal, about being the best motivational speaker in the world, it doesn't mean that one day I'm going to be on a stage somewhere and someone's going to hand me some award that says, Mary, good job, and pats me on the back and says, you are officially the best motivational speaker in the world. There's not a day that I cross that finish line. And the truth is every goal for me that I've ever set is that it's never been about the goal. It's always been about who do I have to become to achieve it? So if I want to be the best motivational speaker in the world, what does that mean to me? What do I see in my mind's eye? And then what would have to be true for me to achieve that? That part is the part that matters. And that part is the part that's within my control. And so that's what I have always focused on every time that I have set a goal. And so who would I have to become? What would I have to know? How would I have to dress? Who would be in my network? What kind of training would I need? What kind of coaches would I need to hire? What books would I need to read? What podcasts would I need to listen to? What would I need to be obsessed with to become the best motivational speaker in the world? And then what isn't that? When I've got that really clear picture, what isn't that? And so the reason I am here too is I want to share with you why this is the goal. It's not really about that. And it's not really about me. And I'm excited to share what it's actually about with you. My friend Matthew Abrams, he might be here. I can't tell. My wonderful husband, my co-host, is letting everybody in. So I can't quite see all the names that have come in. And thank you for those of you that are still coming in. It's great to see you here. My friend Matthew Abrams said to me once, Mary, you reference movies and TV shows a lot when you're trying to make a point. And I said, I know. And it's by design, just so that you know. And the reason that I do it is because it's so efficient. If I can name a movie or a show or a scene, and you know that same movie, show, or scene, we are instantly connected. So there's, of course, the risk that you don't know the movie or show that I'm referencing, but hopefully I will build a bridge to get you there. But I have this really great example that I don't know if I used with him that day, but I'll use it with you today. So as women, we have, many of us, not all of us, but many of us have some pretty extensive beauty routines. And I have a very extensive beauty routine. And what I do for my routine is I get regular facials, I get my hair done, I get my nails done, I get Botox, I do all of the things. And I'm doing it because I told my husband, there's your chronological age. So I'm 45. That's my chronological age. And then there's your biological age. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's like a popular thing that all the health apps and things are telling you now. Like, so now, you're 45, but actually you're 55 metabolically, or you're 45, but you're actually this age metabolically. So my metabolic age is 31. And as many of you know, I've also lost a lot of weight. So I joke with my husband regularly that I am on a mission to get all the way back to my baby age and my baby weight. So just so you know, if everyone wants to know where I'm trying to head with this whole journey, that's where I'm trying to go. So I'm just kidding. But I do have this extensive beauty routine that does hopefully help me stay younger, longer, at least look like it. And so in this routine, it's ironic that what we do is we do all these things to be beautiful. But if you actually watched us during the process, it is the opposite of beautiful. So when we get our hair done, they put these foils in our hair that stack up. And the next thing you know, your hair is you look like an alien from another planet. Your hair is just completely all over the place. You look ridiculous. It is the opposite of beautiful, but the end result is totally worth it. Well, in this routine, I do waxing. And one of the parts that I get waxed are my eyebrows. I get my eyebrows waxed. And when I get my eyebrows waxed, I also get them tinted. And when they do this tinting, it is so hysterical that I send pictures to my friends because it's one of the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. I look like Uncle Leo from Seinfeld. Do you know the reference? Not if you know the reference. You know the reference, right? I reference them because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if I can get you to picture what I need you to picture, then there's so many things that I don't have to say. But in the event that you haven't seen it and you need to see the picture, this is the picture. This is what it looks like. So there's me and there's Uncle Leo. And those are his eyebrows. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's my life. And that's our beauty routine. That's how beautiful we look on our journey to total and ultimate beauty on our way to trying to look like the babies or whatever it is I said I was trying to look like. So I say all of that to say, I want to share with you these 3 movies that I shared with you in the chat. So thank you for putting your answers in the chat. I can't wait to go see what your favorite movies are and why, if you answer that. And to share with you, it was a trick question. The question was, which is my favorite movie? Is it What About Bob? Is it A Bug's Life, or is it Interstellar? Sorry, I was getting distracted by people coming in. Let me do that so I can undistract myself. And the answer is all three of them are my favorite movies. I can't pick one. If you were, it's funny. I asked my husband, I was sharing with him what I was going to share with you today. And I said to him, I'm going to ask them what they think my favorite movie is. And he goes, I don't understand how you could answer that question because I think they're all three your favorite. And they are. I want to describe where I'm going next with my journey and why. And I want to use these three movies because it helps me do that the best that I possibly can. And it's just how I'm wired. I can't help it. This is it. So all three of these movies are so important to me because they've been very thematic. My whole life has sort of been these three movies. And so the first one is What About Bob? And Bob Wiley. So What About Bob is about this almost paralyzed, multi-phobic, completely shut in person who has these mental health issues, who's constantly afraid of the world and lives life in his apartment because he's so afraid of everything in the world. And Bob Wiley is played by Bill Murray. And then there's a therapist in this movie, and his name is Dr. Leo Marvin. And Bob Wiley has been to every single psychiatrist that he can find seeking help for his condition, and no one has been able to help him. And he finally gets connected with Dr. Leo Marvin. And Dr. Leo Marvin is this kind of egotistical, like he just thinks he's the bee's knees. And he brings Bob in and he asks Bob a couple questions. He says three things to him, and Bob feels like for the first time in his entire life, he has hope. He's finally going to have a chance at a normal, healthy life. And so he says, Dr. Marvin, like, I think you can help me. And Dr. Marvin, because he's this egotist, is like, yeah, that's great. He's like, by the way, Bob, I'm going on vacation until after Labor Day. So I'll be gone for the summer, but when I get back, we'll start the work. And Bob starts to lose his mind because he's deeply connected to his therapist. And he decides that what he's going to do is he's going to try to figure out where Dr. Marvin is going for his summer vacation. And what he's going to do is he's going to saddle himself up alongside of Dr. Marvin and his family as a way to get Dr. Marvin's help. And what's interesting about this entire journey that Bob goes through is that he thinks he shows up on Dr. Marvin's porch. And by the way, there are spoiler alerts in this particular movie, but this movie's been out since 1991. So if you haven't seen it yet, I'm just going to say, I doubt you've seen it. So he shows up at Dr. Marvin's vacation home with his family, and he starts living life alongside of Dr. Marvin. And every single thing that Dr. Marvin says, Bob is hanging on. He thinks everything is therapy, but really the entire time, all the doctor's trying to do is get rid of him. He's like, you got to get out of here. And so the whole time, what ends up happening is Bob ends up treating himself throughout the entire movie. He thinks the doctor's treating him, but really what happens is he transforms his entire life. If you actually track with this movie across 3 days, he transforms himself into a healthy, functional person who is no longer having panic attacks, who is no longer multiphobic. He's not all these conditions that he had where he was afraid of touching doors and he was afraid of throwing up. And he was afraid of everything. And now he's living this completely normal, healthy life. Unfortunately, in the process, he ends up driving Dr. Marvin insane in a matter of 3 days, and he ends up institutionalized. But he himself gets healthy, and somehow Bill Murray makes this one of the most charming things that could ever happen. I don't know how that's possible. The reason this movie was so important to me, I was a kid when this movie came out. 1991, I was 10, 11 years old that year. And somewhere in there, we must have seen that in the years after that. I, at the time, was suffering from panic attacks. I had these debilitating panic attacks, and I could not leave the house. And I had trouble going to sleep at night. Like I couldn't do anything. And when I saw this movie, it gave me hope. It's so funny and silly sounding, like even as I say it now, that Bob Wiley on What About Bob is the thing that gave me hope. But what he showed me, what he demonstrated was that you can transform your own life. You can do it if you believe that you can, if you decide to. And also, importantly, that there are people in the world that are here to help you. So if there's something that you want to do, there are people whose entire professions are dedicated to helping you get to where you're trying to go and, support you. And so I didn't have panic attacks anymore after that. I can't explain it. I mean, I can. I think I'm explaining to you right now. I saw what was possible and I started to change my own life because of it. And the reason I share all of that with you now is because my goal of being the best motivational speaker in the world doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with the fact that I want to be an example for other people of what's possible. From going from a 15-year-old mom on welfare to where I have the opportunity to be today, there are so many stories along the way that I want to share with people that give them hope, where they can see their own story. The same way I saw my own story in Bob Wiley taking baby steps with Dr. Marvin. I want to be that example for other people. So that's why that movie means a lot to me. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I know I gave you the spoiler alert, but it's hilarious. So you should watch it anyways. The second movie is A Bug's Life. If you haven't seen it, one of the best movies of all time, Pixar's second movie after Toy Story. And what I need you to do for this one is I need you to imagine that you are 18 years old and the day you turned 18, you moved out. The moment you could, you moved out. You are ready for freedom. And of course, what's funny about that is the day I turned 18 and moved out, I instantly became aware of what all 18-year-olds discover, which is that life is very expensive. And I could not afford cable, of course. By this time now, my son is 3 years old in our little teeny tiny apartment. And we could not afford to go do things. And so we're in our teeny tiny apartment with a 14-inch TV. That's the size TV I had. I think it's the same size as my actual computer screen that I'm looking at you now, 14 inches, and a VHS player that was like attached to it. It was probably the kind of TVs that they would use in those training rooms, like come and sit down and take this training. It was that TV. That was our TV in our living room. And so the only VHS that I had at the time was A Bug's Life. And there were only so many things that my son and I could do outside. We live in the desert. We live in Phoenix. It's 115 degrees. You can't stay outside. And there's only so much you can do inside. So we watched A Bug's Life on repeat over and over and over again, a million times. And thank God it's such a great movie because I never got tired of it. So recently, I was trying to figure something out. And whenever I'm trying to figure something out, what I do, and I don't understand it, and this has to do with like human behavior, sometimes my own human behavior, sometimes other people's human behavior, people I'm trying to help. So when I'm trying to figure something out and I can't figure it out, what I do is I think about either caveman times or nature, because those are the two things that help me sort of remove all of the social constructs that we've added to boil something down into what's the survival instinct here? What's the thing that's driving this behavior right now? And so I started thinking about this ant colony. And I was thinking how in an ant colony, all of the ants have these different roles, right? Like there's the army ants that are here to protect the colony. There are the worker ants that are doing all the heavy lifting and making things happen. There's the queen ant that probably, makes the babies and creates the leadership and guidance for the entire colony. But then there are, scientifically, they're called the scout ants. I call them the seeker ants. They're the ones that go out on their own away from this beautiful, safe colony, and they go out to try to figure out what's next for the colony. Where's the next picnic? Where's the next cube of sugar? What's next? That's what those ants do. And then when they get there and they go, I got something, they turn around and they signal to the rest of the colony, you guys, come this way. This is where it's at. And then the colony follows. I was processing this recently because I was trying to understand my own behavior because I can't say my entire life, that's dramatic. Probably since I got pregnant. So 30 years. I have been doing this thing where I will seek what's next. I will take that down into my life. I see it, I find it, I identify it, I bring it into my life, and then I put it on my map. And then that becomes the new like X marks the spot on my map. And then what I do is I plot my way back to where I am now. And then I start to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to close the gap between this X on my map and where I am now? And then I begin to close that gap. And I have done that over and over and over again. I've done it with really big things, things that have taken me years to accomplish. And I've done it with little things, like things I'm trying to get done in 30 days. My husband and I are right now, we're doing, if you're familiar with 75 hard, well, I'm not strong enough for 75 hard. So we're doing 30 medium is what we're doing, but it's still getting the job done. We're still working out and drinking our water and reading some pages and doing it most days. That's what 30 medium looks like. I'm not a fan of perfection, and 75 hard is all about perfection, and it's great. And for the people that can do it, good for you. I'm not that guy. So anyways, X marks the spot. This is what I want in 30 days. This is what I want in 6 years, whatever it is. And I'll do my best to try to put a time frame on it. And I'll do my best to try to close the gap. And what are the things that I need to do? Who do I need to become to close that gap? Come back to A Bug's Life and Flick. Flick is that seeker ant. He's the ant that the entire movie, he is the innovator. He's the one that's always going out and trying to figure out what's next and bring it back to the colony. Well, the protagonist, I think is how you say it, in the movie A Bug's Life, are the grasshoppers. And the grasshoppers insist that these ants, they force them to gather food for them all summer long so that they don't have to do it for themselves. And then when they're done gathering food for the grasshoppers, then they can gather food for themselves. And so what that means is the ants are just constantly working all the time, all the time. They have no lives. They have no connection, no community, no nothing. They just work all the time for the grasshoppers and then for themselves. And so one day he says to the queen ant, who's played by Phyllis Diller, she's so funny, played by Phyllis Diller. And he says, you know what? He goes, I got an idea. Because of course he has an idea. He's a seeker ant. I have an idea. I can see what's next. And he says, why don't we go out, leave the island, and go find bigger bugs to come back and fight these grasshoppers so that we can get rid of them for good, so that we can go back to our way of life. And Phyllis Diller, the queen ant, says to him, oh, like, why didn't I think of that? Oh, I know, because it's suicide. That's what she says in a kid's movie. I don't know if they would say that in today's kids movie, but that's what she says in that year. I don't remember what year that was. But she says, I know why we don't leave the island to go do that, because it's suicide. And Flick's immediate response is, well, I'd do it. I'd be happy to do it. I'll go. Without any thought, without any hesitation. That's how he says it. What these two lines from these two characters boil down are two things. One is that the reason that Flick decides that he's going to do this unconsciously, he doesn't even think about it, is that he has a calling. And I do this with my heart because it's truly his heart. He has this calling in his heart. It's love in his heart for his colony. And he also happens to have a crush on the Princess Ada. And he's like, I'll do it. Like, I will do this. And the funny thing about that is that there's nothing logical about this decision. The data, if we were to boil it down to data and math, is that he's going to die. That's why she says that. The data does not support this feeling that he has. He has this calling in his heart. I'm going to go do this. And so I think the two reasons he can do this are, one, because of the love in his heart for the greater good and for Princess Ada. And the second reason is because he's wired this way. He's wired to take risks. So he doesn't think twice about it. Other people might have that love in their heart, but they're not wired for risk. So that's going to be challenging for them, right? So that's why I think that he does that. The point of this for me is that a lot of people ask, like, what's a calling? You know, And I've heard other people say that, and they're like, like, I have a calling. And people are like, what is a calling? What does that mean? Where does that come from? It comes from here. It's love. And it will cause people to do things, to sacrifice things that don't make sense because the logic does not support it, which moves me to the next movie. And so that I'll stop crying, Interstellar. And the movie Interstellar is exactly Flick's journey of both sacrifice and love explained through quantum physics. So it's love explained through quantum physics. If you have not seen this movie, please go watch it. And just know it's long, number one. Number two, you're going to have to watch it a couple of times if you're like me, who still does math on their hands, because we're talking about quantum physics. And number three, it's scored by Hans Zimmer, my all-time favorite composer. And so you should also watch it for that. And you should also listen to the soundtrack. In the movie Interstellar, every single character makes really massive sacrifices. And these are all scientists who are trying to do the math along the way. They are mathing the entire way. Black holes, time and space, and how it is on this planet versus, I mean, it's fascinating, which is why I had to watch it multiple times. It's so fascinating. And my husband has shared with me that scientists have said it is the most accurate depiction of quantum physics in a movie. So you'll learn a lot. It's really great. But what's fascinating about this movie is that what they explain as best as they possibly can is how love transcends space and time. And how no matter how many math calculations they do, they're going to make decisions that are sacrificial decisions based on this instead of the data that they have that's in front of them. And it completely is, it's always about things that are greater than themselves. Now, there are people that are seekers that are not heart driven, that are not focused here. They're focused somewhere else. I don't know where it is in their body, but it isn't here. But the people that are heart-focused seekers are going to do things for the greater good and out of love. And when I was processing all of this recently, just some of my recent decisions, I'm like, where is this coming from? It's always coming from that place. And now I have this calling that I have to become a full-time speaker and to help as many people as I possibly can is something that occurred to me way back when I found out that I was pregnant with my son. And here's how this happened. I'm 15 years old. I come home and I tell my parents I'm pregnant. My parents are in their 40s and they had just recovered from a bankruptcy. They were in between jobs and did not have health insurance when their 14-year-old daughter shows up on their doorstep and says, I am pregnant. My parents said that they would do everything they could to support me. I can live in the house. I can eat their food. They will do what they can, but I'm pretty much on my own. They're in survival mode themselves. They cannot help me beyond that. And part of what they transferred to me in terms of my responsibility is what's my decision about having this baby? Am I going to keep the baby? Am I going to put the baby up for adoption? Am I going to have an abortion? And they said, we can't answer this for you. And if you're adult enough to make this decision, to make the decisions that get a person pregnant, then you're adult enough to manage the consequences. And so we love you, we support you, we're praying for you, but we can't make this decision for you. And so at that time, when you are going through something like that, it is the most overwhelming feeling. And as a 15-year-old, I was searching for this place in my body and in my head that did not know that I was pregnant. because it was that overwhelming. And I couldn't escape. There's no escape. When it's happening in your body, there's no escape. And so as a coping mechanism, which I didn't realize was what it was at the time, what I did is I left my body and I looked down on my life and I thought about it like a movie. And I thought, okay, if this is a movie, this is a thing that's happening in this movie in front of me. And instantly, as soon as I had that thought, I actually felt better. So it worked. It felt like I was removing myself from the actual overwhelm. And I saw it like a movie and I felt relief. And then I was kind of like looking at it like, well, if this is a movie, that's interesting. Then there's an ending to this movie. And if there's an ending, I could possibly write this ending. I mean, I'd seen Bob Wiley, you change his ending. I could change my ending. And so what I did is I started thinking about what I wanted that ending to be. And that was the first time in my life that I started thinking about my future. I had to, I was 15. And it's funny because I fast forwarded down to the time that my baby, I didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl at that time. My baby was going to be 30 years old. And when my baby was going to be 30 years old, I was going to be 45 years old. And as a 15-year-old, that's so old. Both of those things are so old. A 30-year-old and a 45-year-old, so old to my 15-year-old self. And I thought, what do I want to be true? What do I want to be able to say about my life when I get to that point? Also, if this is a movie, then that means that there's an audience. Someone's going to be watching this movie. And I don't know who it is, but at the time I was in the father of my child was a physically abusive Mexican national illegal immigrant who was 21 years old. I knew how to pick him. I told him when I found out that I was pregnant that he could leave because he offered to pay for my abortion. He also offered to punch me in the stomach, which like, that's the kind of guy that I was with. And I was like, you can go. I don't need anything from you. I don't need your child support. I have no thought in my head that you're going to be some knight in shining armor here. It's pretty clear where this path is headed. You can go and I will figure this out because I'm keeping this baby and this is what I'm going to do. And I thought, there's some girl somewhere that I'm going to have to figure this journey out. And then I'm going to have to get to the other side of it so that she can see how to do this. So I'm going to learn how to do this. And then I'm going to turn around and I will show other people how to do this. And that's the purpose of my life. That has to be the only reason that this is happening to me right now. Because I can't imagine why else I would be going through this. And from that point on, I started thinking of my life like a movie. And every next thing that would occur, I'm like, this is going to be an interesting story in that movie someday. And I'm going to have to learn how to get to the other side of it so that I can show other people how to do this thing. And I have been continuously doing that through every single business and every aspect of my life and my career. And what's interesting is that throughout all of these businesses and all of this stuff, the two things that I have done with absolute consistency and I feel that I have mastery over are, one, finding the X on the map and closing the gap. And two is turning around and speaking and communicating and sharing it with other people so that they can hear it in a way that they will then be moved to take action. Because what else is the point? There's no other point of someone getting on a stage or doing anything if they aren't going to move people into what's possible for themselves. And so this calling that I have right now, this frequency, I've had it the whole time. I've been talking about this for as long as I can remember. This goal of mine to speak. And so what I want to do is I want to ask you to help me help more people. It's why I've asked you here today, is to help me with this goal, because this calling is so powerful. And by the way, I've tried to heed this calling before and it wasn't the right time. This was back in 2021. I wrote a book at that time. I had a podcast. I even got to interview Tony Robbins. But what I discovered at that time is that I still had some more things I had to learn before I could get to here. And now every single light that I have is green that says now is the time. You know, one thing I want to say before I go to this final thought and ask is people have asked me over the years when I've shared that story about the movie, because I've shared that story with different people over the years. They've asked me, how did you know that at 15 years old? How did you know to think that way? How did you know to make that choice? That's incredible that you knew as a 15-year-old to make that choice. And the only thing I can tell you is that it's not me. It wasn't me. It was never me. It was God, like working through me and working through my heart. And my relationship with my higher power, whatever yours is yours. God is mine. And my relationship with God is very new, actually. And I had a pastor at church one day who said, this was recent, and he said, I want you to go back all the way through your life, and I want you to notice what all the places that God was there for you. And the very first place that I went back to was that moment in time. So he's always been with me, always been guiding me. Gosh, dang it. My husband just handed me 2 tissue boxes. Thanks, babe. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. This is what I feel called to do. Oh my gosh, regain your composure, woman. Okay. So I have 3 ways that I would love to ask for your support and your help. What I'd like to do is I would like to launch a poll. And in this poll, what I'd like to do is just ask you, even if you already think that I have your email and your phone number, can you please share with me here? Because it's telling me who here is interested in hearing from me. And by the way, if you share with me your email, it is not subscribing you to anything. It is just for this one email follow-up that I'm going to send to you. If you want to opt into future communications, I will give you an opportunity to do that. But share your email with me. If you want to, you can share your phone number with me. And by the way, if you share your phone number with me, I will call you and I will text you. So please don't share it unless you want me to call you and text you. And the 3 ways that you can support. So the first way is I am going to, as a way to share this with as many people as I can, I'm going to actually document this journey out loud on social media, which is not my comfort zone. I'll just put it that way. But what I understand now is that that's where people go to get their inspiration. That's where people go to learn things. And so I am committed to, and by the way, I'm so early in this journey that if you go to my website right now and you click on anything, it's not going to work. If you go to my social media handles, they're not set up yet. That's how early in this journey that I am. And I'm going to be documenting my journey from here to my ultimate goal of becoming the best motivational speaker in the world for me, whatever that means to me. And I want to share that. So the people who might need to see and hear that is really anyone who wants to learn how to be a great speaker, because that's part of my journey. I'm getting coaching. And so I have incredible coaches. I'm attending a 6-month-long training program. Even though I already do a lot of speaking, I want to learn from the best at how to do it even better. And I'm attending this program called Heroic. It's incredible. So I want you to follow my journey and share it with anyone who either wants to become a great speaker or wants to learn how to set their X. What's your X? And by the way, part of my passionate plea, if I could make a t-shirt, by the way, this is so weird because I'm asking you to follow me here, but if I could make a t-shirt, what it would say is, please don't follow me. Because what I want more people to do is I want them to be in their own life. The reason my life is so incredible today is because I spend 99% of it in it, working on it with my family, working on myself, nurturing my relationships. I am not on social media, but it's also where I go to learn and grow. So that's that about that. Steps down off of soapbox. The second thing is if you can help connect me with speaking engagements. I am looking to book 10 speaking engagements. So the types of places that I'm looking to speak, conferences, events that are supporting organizations that are between 10 million and $100 million is kind of the size of company that I'm really comfortable and familiar working with in revenue. And they're looking for a keynote speaker, keynote and breakout speaker, or maybe an organization is looking for a full day workshop for their team. I have been in every single one of these seats, an owner. I've been executive leadership in every seat in the business. I've been a manager and then frontline. I love working with frontline people to help show them what their incredible life is. What does that look like? Not what social media says it should be, not what your neighbor has, but what do you want for your life? And then how do you line your work up to that so that more people can live very satisfied lives and be happy, be grateful for the work that they get to do every single day. We all should have that experience. So anyone that needs that help, I'm looking for 10 speaking engagements, and I would love your help connecting with those. And then the third thing is speaking coaching. I coach speakers, and the people that I coach are people who are already on stages, they're already speaking, they're experts at their craft, but they're really ready to unlock a new level by creating even more memorable talks that convert. And so what converting means is it gets you the leads you're looking for. It gets you the next speaking engagement that you're looking for. It helps you sell more books or people signing up for your product and service. So those are the three ways that you can help, support my journey. I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the chats at the moment. I'm going to go back and read every single thing that you shared. I can see that things are coming into there. And I'll also check your polls, not pulse, but poll. I will reach out to you. And I really appreciate so much every single one of you being here. And, anything you think I should know, I'm open to feedback as well. Really open to that. I can take it. Go ahead. Tell me what it is that you think I could do even better, because I want to learn and grow just like you do. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. This is my movie today. So I went ahead and put an ending credits slide. Thank you everyone for being here. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye.